Hello, everybody, and welcome to my final presentation. I'll be talking about campus recreation centers, a little bit about the history, and we'll kind of touch into, diving into the background of what campus rec looks like and what it looks like to be a consumer of campus recreation. So, first off, we want to touch on what is campus recreation, right? So, I might be saying that term and that go over the head of most people. Campus recreation is organized sport, fitness, outdoor, aquatic programs provided for the community of a university. So I currently work in campus recreation here at the University of Alabama in a professional role. There are undergraduate part-time roles, there are interns, there are graduate assistants. It just depends on what university you are at. But there are individuals who are dedicated to making sure that the facilities run and that these programs get tailored and made to these communities. So multifaceted operations, so sometimes multiple buildings. You'll see plenty across here at the University of Alabama. We've got 3 different facilities, whereas I came from my previous institution, there's upwards of 6 or 7. So depending on where you go to school, might depend on how much offerings you have. However, all of the offerings are tailored to provide college students outlets through healthy means to relieve stress. The history, early on in campus recreation, it was just organized sports by students who could play outside of the varsity realm. In 1891, the first ever intramural department was established at the Ohio State University, and they have still to this day been flagship institution nationally for intramural sports and collegiate campus recreation. In the mid-20th century, post-World War II, you saw a large increase in college enrollment, which meant an increase in campus recreation programs and what can be provided. So focus on the structural of intramural sports and recreation opportunities. As we move to the 60s to 80s, campus recreation programs diversified. You started seeing more niche sports or offerings available, activities that were meeting students outside of their own spaces late at night, early in the morning, in different facilities, taking it to them. So you also saw the construction of different facilities dedicated to these offerings on different campuses. Finally, you work from the 90s to current campus recreation, continuing to expand, continuing to keep up with trends, both in the sports industry as well as the athletic business in general. You'll see everything from climbing walls and swimming pools to multi-purpose courts and rooms and dedicated learning space. So there's plenty of different opportunities as we continue to grow in campus recreation. So as for the meat and potatoes of my presentation, what we really want to get into is the research purpose. So what is it that I'm looking to get out of this? And really it is to identify the impact that campus recreation has on college campuses across the nation. So evaluating that impact on student health and well-being. I wrote a paper on that in a previous course on the benefits of that. Assessing academic and social outcomes. So can organized team sports or organized activities or fitness benefits academic outcomes, exploring community and campus culture. So how do these programs foster that sense of community, identifying best practices, so identifying different strategies and those ever-changing trends to be able to adapt and accommodate to these students. Research objectives, we can measure the health benefits. Collect and analyze data on students' physical well-being, located here in our facilities, totally free of charge is a bot pod, so students can come in and get all the vitals of everything from body mass to different scaling options as for health metrics. So being able to provide that physically, assessing mental health and well-being. We are big advocates of mental health here in our facility, so understanding that students have the means and the resources to find those outlets and find those ways to gauge their mental health. Conducting focus groups and interviews. We do one-on-one meetings totally not mandatory, optional. Those students know that they can stop by my office and just let me know what's on their mind, if it's good, bad, or ugly, just to check in on them as well. So continued along with that, examining social and community engagement. So how likely is someone to go participate in our programs as well as participate in other university-wide programs. You can see the leadership skills applicable to each one of those, and then identifying effective programs. So what is going to work for us as a program. My methodology, to achieve these objectives, we used a mixed methods approach. We employed surveys and questionnaires distributed to diverse samples of students. So it might be the honors college, it might be the engineers, it might be just freshmen or just sophomores. So using those focus groups. Moving on to the next one, those focus groups I touched on, conducting with students and staffs to get their insight and personal experience. We do a lot of one-on-one information, asking questions to our student staff. What is it that you need? What it is that we are not providing? Things of that nature. Data analysis, so statistically identifying trends, correlations, and significant impacts. So what is it quantifiably on the data that I can turn around and provide for our students. And then finally, case studies, so in-depth examination of different specific campus rep programs, whether it be former institutions or institutions we want to aspire to be like, using those case studies as well. Expected outcomes. So provide a detailed understanding of the benefits and challenges associated with campus rec. That's really the main thing, is understanding the highs and lows, the ebbs and flows of what it is that we do. Offer evidence-based recommendations for improving, expanding on recreational services. So can we provide our higher-ups with true evidence of the impact we are making, whether we need more in certain areas or not? We have to have the evidence to back that up. Highlighting importance of campus recreation and supporting students, whether that be mental health or physical health, or just an outlet for them to feel creative or active, thereby informing our policy and funding decisions through the well-being of our students. So that's the expected outcomes of those. If we keep moving along, touching on the research designs, so this study, like I said, employs a mixed methods research design to examine the impact. We touch on both qualitative and quantitative methods to provide a well-rounded summarization of what it is that we're trying to find here. So in-depth interviews being my first instrument, talking to people, face-to-face interaction, participant selection, so being very purposeful when picking the sample group, selecting participants who are actively engaged. You don't want to talk to somebody who hasn't been here and seen our programs, right? You want to be someone who's actively participating. We have several participants who take part in a multitude of different offerings here that we have. Data collection, so semi-structured interviews conducted dependent on availability. Interview guide with open-ended questions, so providing them with those questions. And then finally, data analysis being transcribed and used thematically. That's my first instrument, is using these in-depth questions. Second instrument being those surveys, right? So the survey design, structured to include questions based on demographic, frequency of use, type of recreational activity participated in, benefits, academic performance, leadership qualities. You can go on and on about these, but really being mindful of what we're asking and what we're trying to get out of this. Selecting participants, like I said in the previous slide, so making sure that we're being very intentional with what groups and what demographics are being reached. Finally, collection. So through University Survey Platform, we've got plenty of different options here at the university that we use. And then we can always incentivize participation. I was told in this business or in this field, 25% on a survey, 25% participation on a survey is actually really good. So it might sound like it's only a fourth of your student staff or the demographic you're reaching out to, but that 25% can go a long way. And then finally, analyzing the data once it is in-house and using that to progress and move forward. So finally, I want to talk on the managerial impacts. First off, enhancing students' mental and physical health, targeting wellness programs that can address both of these at the same time, simultaneously, which is fantastic for me in my role. Improving academic performance. I always tell my staff that they're student employees, and there's a reason why the word student is first. Myself being a student while in this role, I've known that I've had to prioritize school sometimes over other things. So understanding that and providing that back to our staff and our community. Moving on, increase social integration and community building. Oftentimes we see here people come to our building to seek out this community, whether it be through working for us in different areas or just participating in what we have to offer. Being able to provide that community building aspect within our facilities is huge at that managerial aspect. So understanding more inclusive, more diverse activities that cater to these demographics, that everybody can come together into one big melting pot. Program improvement and innovation, so continuously collecting and analyzing feedback to then give back to our community and give back to our students. There would be no progression if you weren't investing back into the same program that you're wishing to build up. So finally, we want to touch on the 4 Ps and what kind of I got out of this research. Products, diversification, so expanding the range of recreational activities, including fitness classes, sport clubs, outdoor adventures, even wellness programs. And then finally, innovation, introducing new and trendy activities to keep going along with these trends we see in Campus Rec. Second P being price, so affordability. So this can look a lot different dependent on which organization or program you are with. Campus Recreation, we say we're not in it for the money, which can be evident on a consumer basis. Some schools put it in your tuition. You have to pay, part of your tuition is going towards campus recreation facilities. Some schools, like us, we don't ask for anything up front in tuition. We're completely open door policy to any student who's enrolled in credit hours, right? So we have to find our revenue generation through other means, and that is through pricing our product. Intramural sports, for me personally, being $20 per participant, whereas group fitness might have a group rate class or whatever it may look like. So affordability being our main goal here, is being easily accessible to as many people as possible. And finally, emphasizing the value and benefits of participation. We move along, place, so make sure the recreation facilities are easily accessible to all students and bringing those offerings to them, whatever that may look like, so for convenience. Finally, promotion, targeting your market, data-driven marketing strategies to reach specific student groups, having those engagements via social media or campus-wide events, or just spreading via word of mouth. And then finally, collaborating with partners on other campuses or across our own campus, and doing promotional recreational programs that way. But that has been my presentation. Thank you all so much for listening, and roll tide.